All right, I'm recording. Welcome back, everybody. It is May. Here we are, May the 4th be with you. So it's yeah, the beginning of May, and so much going on. We covered last couple of weeks some things that I thought were very pertinent. I believe, I hope you believe as well, those of you who are on those calls, that give us a little bit more of a level of objectivity where our business is concerned. And I know right now we're in a time of a lot of subjectivity, meaning we're introverted or introspective, we're looking within and so forth. And all of these are very good points. But when it comes to business, which brings us together here tonight and most times on our Zoom channel, then business requires us to be a little bit more formal, especially if we want to have a successful business. It requires us to be objective. And so, for instance, Nikan doesn't say, well, we're gonna advance you in rank because you feel like you should be a diamond. It doesn't work that way. you have to actually do what is objectively required in the compensation plan to be advanced in rank. And so there has to be a level of objectivity for us to have a business that we can really call a business. Otherwise, it's really a hobby or a vocation, not really a business. And a business is something that needs numbers and measurements in order to verify its validity and whether or not it's on track and so forth. So we talked a little bit about setting some standards, setting some goals, being a little bit more objective. My presentation, my 3 keys, got into a little bit of the hybrid of how to mix in the law of attraction with the heart and head message, so that while we're applying ourselves with conviction and passion and compassion in terms of our interaction with people, the head is required for governing our direction and our objectives. So that is a piece that's necessary in order to give our action meaning and to give our action to be taking action in a manner that's consistent with an outcome that we're seeking, so that our business is on the up and up and producing results, both by way of income, recognition, advancement, achievement through the incentive program, and so forth. So it was just a little reminder that it's important that you behave in a manner that's consistent with the business. And one of the key things that I mentioned as well is your business is not you. Give your business an identity outside of yourself. That way you'll start to treat it with a little bit more of objectivity. We tend to think of ourselves as a quote unquote Nikan wellness consultant. I know that's the language we use. But if we separate ourselves as a person and the CEO of our company and the company itself as the distributor, then you're working on behalf of that company. You're making decisions on behalf of that company, and that company is growing in proportion to those choices you're making. And the goal is to create a company, an asset that's generating an income with a degree of consistency. So that's how we move outside of the scope of trading time for money. And it's not until you really establish that identity of your company that you will, I think, act in a manner that's consistent and objective. So I think that's one of the very first things you can teach somebody brand new in the business, is to get them to give their business a name. And then from that standpoint, you can start looking at objectives. Let's see, we made some announcements, and I'll just get to this because I've got a guest speaker today on the call today who is going to share some insights. Actually, maybe we'll do that first, because that might then tie into what we talked about over the last couple of messages. So Mary Robson spent a weekend with Bob Proctor. And I know any of you who know Bob Proctor know that would be a pretty amazing thing to do, be able to spend a weekend with Bob Proctor. And it just so happens to be in one of my favorite of all-time favorite programs that Bob does, which is the Science of Getting Rich program. It's based on a book written in 1903 by Wallace D. Wattles. It's a very thin book, but this book has context that is, thin as it is, it's so poignant because it really helps us understand how it is that we can be within our current space, operating within our current space, yet manifesting a future reality at the same time that could be much grander. So rather than me get into the details of that, maybe I'll pick up on some nuances of it. I'm going to ask Mary, I asked Mary if she wouldn't mind sharing with us what it was that her Coles notes, if you will, of her experience over the last 3 days, and give us some nuggets to add to our repertoire of what it takes to really break out of the box or the paradigm of our status quo. So Mary, would you mind unmuting and coming in and sharing? Tell us, what have you got for us this evening?
Wow, what an honor. Thank you, Michael. I would like to show you my certificate that I got today, that I printed, that I finished the Science of Getting Rich workshop. And it's really an honor. And you asked me to share key points. I wrote in my book is really thick. So in order to serve you tonight, I hope that I have created some real concise notes for you. Now, Bob is giving us a very strong recommendation to study this material. He's given us the ability to view it until July the 6th, to review it every day till and on to July 6th. And so I think I will be a little bit more clear and concise at that time. Maybe we could redo this again, Michael, then. So let's begin. The Science of Getting Rich was live streamed from Bob's studio in Toronto, Canada, in that area. And the first thing we saw, if you don't mind me digressing here, was his studio. It's in his backyard. And he was saying when CTV or one of the television networks came to see his place, he told them, well, this is, similar to a TV studio. And their response to Bob was, this is a TV studio, Bob.
By the way, just a little, that studio is actually suspended. It floats so that the trains that are not too far away, when they pass by, they don't create vibration in the building. That's how far they went in this elaborate studio.
Right, yeah. So to begin with, Bob used this, and you're familiar with this because Michael has used it a lot, the stick person. And that came from Dr. Truman Fleet. He was the founder of the concept theory in the 30s. So he started with paradigms, and he didn't spend a lot of time on paradigms, but he did make some key points. Is that we all have paradigms, and they exclusively control most of our habitual behavior. If you have limitation thinking, which was really an aha moment for me, you did not put them there. Someone else put them for you, and probably when you were an infant. However, you have the ability to change those paradigms because you have a magnificent facility, which is your conscious mind. And that our conscious mind has perception, imagination, intuition, it has a will, and it has reason. So he said a lot of intelligent people who have superior knowledge and are not really aware of what is going on in their mind, in their subconscious minds, and they may not be getting the results that they want. It's because they're ignorant of the paradigms that are ruling them. And when you have superior knowledge, and I can relate to this myself, Like I've listened to Michael and Ben and Madeline and Michelle. I know how to talk to people about self-care and prevention. However, my paradigms are stopping me, and this is causing confusion, frustration, and for me, this confusion and frustration, it actually freezes me, freezes my mind, and I don't take the right or the appropriate action. So what Bob is saying that is the Science of Getting Rich course is mainly about changing your paradigm. So when he said that, I got really excited. So now I'm going to study and I know how to change my paradigms. So as Michael mentioned, he does use the book written by Wallace D. Wattles, and he starts with chapter 1, The Right to be Rich. And I'm just going to read some notes from that. Wattles wrote, "It is not possible to live complete and successful life unless you are rich. We cannot raise our greatest possible height of talent or soul development unless we have plenty of money. Each of us has the right to life. This means that the right to have free and unrestricted use of all things that may be necessary for our fullest mental, spiritual, and physical unfolding. In other words, the right to be rich." Bob says, we are God's greatest form of creation. We are here to do God's work for the greater good. And his question to us was, are you doing God's work? And if not, what is stopping you? And if money is stopping you, earn more. Earn more. Earn more. Okay. Make a decision, not just a decision, a committed decision. Now, I think I've heard Michael say this 1,000 times. Again, I heard it freshly from Bob Proctor this time. Make a decision, a committed decision, and implement it so that your will not go backwards. You'll be going forwards. The only one way to live is to be all in. Make a committed decision. Find out what you really, really want. What do you really, really, really want? Write it down. Write out your day with as much details as your imagination can take you. Bob says, create your own economy with the Science of Getting Rich in studying this every day. He also told that he has been studying the Science of Getting Rich with Napoleon Hill and this book from Wallace Wattles for 59 years, from 1961 to 2020. Most of us want freedom. Why do we want freedom? Because we are spiritual beings, and spirit is for fuller expansion and fuller expression. Our ability to get rich depends on our level of awareness, and our job is to expand our level of awareness, like on this call and other Nikan Connect calls. Our spiritual DNA is perfect. Isn't that wonderful? Our spiritual DNA is perfect. The highest form of my personality or our spirit is my spirit. The lowest form of my personality is my body. So this is a note to myself. Let my spirit be my guide. There's a science to getting rich. It's an exact science, like algebra or arithmetic. Once you learn and obey these laws, you will get rich with mathematical certainty. And then he goes into the laws from the book. There is but one great law, energy is. I'll repeat this. There is but one great law, energy is. And all physical and mental science is based on this one great law and its 7 subsidiary laws which operate in coordination with each other. And these are laws you probably heard before, but I'll just name them. The law of perpetual transmutation, the law of relativity, the law of vibration, the law of polarity, the law of rhythm, the law of cause and effect, and the law of gender. Waddles writes, the best definition of natural laws seems to be that it is the uniform and orderly method of the omnipotent God. When you make a committed decision to change and you work with and in harmony with these laws, then your income will change. To consciously change, focus your intention on what you are doing every day. Find out what you love to do and get really, really good at it. Become a master at whatever you do. And note to myself here, I am the only one who's standing in my way. Because of my paradigms, Mary Mira, don't let your current results affect the way you're thinking. Don't think from the mind, think from the spirit. Our thinking mind, whatever we're thinking about, we are becoming. Take the problem out of your head and put it on paper. Don't keep it in your head, take it out. And as well as take your goals, your desires, what you really, really want, and put it on paper. Don't keep it in your head. How do you want to live? Focus your will, because your will has the ability to hold one idea at a time in your mind. Your goal will be achieved by your will, by how your will concentrate and focus on that goal. Bob mentioned Wayne Dyer in this instance. He said, when you change the way you look at something, that something will change. So pay attention to your attitudes. And he defined attitude in this way. Your attitudes are your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. Focus on what you really, really want. He talked about chapter 9 in the book and how to use your will and change your paradigms. And that was beyond what I could summarize. So I thought I could leave that for another day. But what he did say is develop the understanding of all of the laws. Faith-based understanding is the key to freedom. Faith-based ignorance is daydreaming only. So focus on creating a daily gratitude. Write out your gratitudes and also write why you are grateful. And as well with that, send love to 3 challenging peoples in your lives. And make a commitment decision, take immediate action, and practice discipline. Then Bob got into goals, and Michael has shared this with us many times. So he talks about the A goal being down here, the B goal, and then the C goal. And you could see, you can't even see my C goal up in your screen because this is where you're going to stretch yourself. So your A goal is what your present results are. And he gave a really good example about somebody in his course saying that he wanted to buy a new car. So Bob asked him, well, what kind of car do you drive now? A Plymouth. Well, okay, a Plymouth is a good car. How old is your car? It's 4 years old. So when did you buy the car? 4 years ago. So you want to buy a new Plymouth. He said, well, you already know how to achieve your goal. That's your A goal. You know how to do it. Our B goals, and this is where I had some issues with, and this is where I've been working, is on my B goals. It's what I think I can do. And usually our B goals are not really what we want. It's just what I think I could do. So as a silver, my next goal, my B goal, is to become a gold. But that doesn't fire me up. It doesn't come from the spirit, because that's where I want to operate in. So my C goal, my fantasy goal, is way up there. And that's the goal that scares you. That's the goal that it challenges you. It's a powerful goal for your soul. Your C goal is a very powerful goal for your soul. And what Bob said was really important in this is to have faith. And if you don't have faith in yourself, have faith in him. And then I said to myself, well, Michael says I can do it. So if I don't believe in myself and I set this C goal, then I can have Michael hold the faith for me. I can have Ben, I can have Madeline, can have Michelle, Maggie. Everybody can hold the faith for me to reach my goal. So for me, it was a huge shift in that area. So, and I really hope that it is something that will resonate in your soul as well. Bob says, you are a powerful soul. And every day that you do your work, you should do the best that you can. And at the end of the day, ask, did I do the best today? Now, why do you want to become rich? Why did I want to study this with Bob? I wanted to be rich, and he says most people want to be rich is because they want to contribute to others. But I need to know where I'm going. So I need to know what I really want. I need to believe that I will get there. So I am a powerful, we are not I am, but we are all a mass of energy, and we function at a frequency that is a very powerful soul. So trust in that and take action, set goals. And he also sent us a printout, which I did. This is the Science of Getting Rich. And this is the back side of the goal that I'm going to write out. So I don't know if you could see that. Yeah. So Okay. As I said, there's so much more I could share with you, but I promised Michael that I would be 15 minutes. And I just wanted to use this, just the last couple of minutes is to acknowledge some of our teachers, to acknowledge Michael for all the time and his energy and his love and his vision for us, to acknowledge Ben and everyone on that NECAN Connect. These are our valuable teachers. They really are amazing. And I really want to acknowledge each and every one of them. I also want to acknowledge Heather Abbott and all the ladies that were in the Ladies Leading Ladies. It was brilliant. For me, it gave me a roadmap. And you know what they say about you don't know what you don't know? And a lot of my questions were answered. So I really am grateful for everyone who has done an amazing job in what you're trying to do, your love, your passion for our family, our community. I just applaud you. I send you rainbows of gratitude for everything that you're doing. Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Wow. Well, thank you. Let's thank her. Thank you, Mary. That was wonderful. That was an amazing recap. And as I'm listening to you do this recap, I'm realizing how much of that recap is drawing a parallel to what we covered last week in the My Three Keys presentation. And it's no wonder. I took, in fact, if I mentioned it last week, I mentioned that the goal that I had set for myself to go Royal Diamond, where I really decided, that was my real firm commitment, that I was going to challenge these laws. I was going to obey the laws and use my willpower to stay focused on applying myself in harmony and alignment with those laws, that I wouldn't betray the laws, just to see whether or not it was real. Like if I could count on it like algebra, if I could count on it as an absolute nature of reality. And so it was at the Science of Getting Rich seminar with Bob Proctor here in Toronto that all happened. And so for you to be able to actually experience Bob doing the Science of Getting Rich, one of my favorite pieces, especially when he goes into the laws. And I do want to touch on that if I can, because I think each law has a significant point and just a sentence or two about what is that law about, how does that all come together. But what you've given us is a complete recap, more or less, of last week's presentation. Yes.
If I may add, during the goal setting, when he talked about C goals, I said, that's why Michael said, our goal should be Royal Diamond. I thought, I didn't understand why he was going all the way up there. I can't reach that goal. So I understood, your motive of why you said, your goal should be going for Royal Diamond.
Let me just, yes, because why? Because that's the highest place on the compensation plan.
Yeah.
Why would you go any less than that? That's like saying, I'm going to climb halfway there. Why would you do anything halfway? I'm going to, so the objective is, if that's the top, that's where you belong, because you're talking about the soul. You're talking about your spirit. Your spirit wants to fly with the eagles. It doesn't want to, but you just said that I can't reach that goal. No, you can't alone, Mary.
No. Yeah.
But you can with a team. You can with an organization. You can with the help of your collaborators, your upline, your crossline, the NECAN Connect, the teachers. You can, because you have the support of many. But you'll never do what it takes or attract to you those people unless you set it as an objective, unless you set it as a goal.
Right.
Because you won't give yourself, it's like, I want to win the lottery, but I'm not willing to buy a ticket.
Yeah.
Doesn't work that way. So setting the goal is like purchasing the ticket.
Yep.
It puts you in the running. So yes, thank you for that. That's brilliant. There's so much here. I took a bunch of notes, and you know, the right to be rich, spirit is for expansion, forever expanding. What are we expanding? Consciousness, awareness. And as you expand your awareness, you expand the abundance associated with that awareness. And so what can you become more aware of? The natural laws, because we are applying these laws on an unconscious level. And as you said, our paradigms are right now what's governing the output. What we are actually creating are the things that we're giving to the system that we're not even aware of. These things that were handed to us by our parents, by our whatever. Somebody told us that we were smaller than what we are. We were limited in some way. We took that literally. And today we operate to the degree that we trust ourselves, trust the world around us, trust the situation we're in, and it's very, very limited. But if you want to increase your output, if you want to increase what you receive as a return, what you must become more aware of is the laws and working in harmony with those laws. And that's how you overcome the inertia of the paradigm. When you set a goal for the sea line, that's how you begin the process of attracting to you the elements that will help you move in that direction. And yes, of course, the second you stretch that elastic band, there's tension. But without that tension, there's no energy. And if it's really something you really, really want, you kept stressing that, you kept saying it's got to be something you really, really want. So what does it mean to live the life of a royal diamond? What does it actually mean? Now, I wouldn't be offended if somebody asked me, Mike, could you spend a few minutes with me and tell me what it means to you to live the life of a royal diamond? I'll give you a perspective on my life. Dr. Gary will give you a perspective on his. Ben will give you a perspective on his, and so forth. What does it mean to live the life of a royal diamond? I'll tell you one of the things that I found that most compels people to those levels of achievement. The absolute desire to be free. Freedom is a huge, huge drawing card. So if you want to attract people to your network who will help propel you in your business fast, these are people who are drawn to the idea of freedom. Now, define freedom. You know, it's not just about being able to write the check, because there's a lot of people who can write the check that don't have the freedom. For instance, having a healthy body is a big component of the freedom you're going to have in life, your ability to move and get around and be around people and so forth, travel and whatnot. So define freedom, get a picture of that in your own mind. And start to imagine that state. Imagine what it's like, because then you start to connect the why. Why are you grateful? I'm grateful for living the life that I have, and I know why. Number one, I am so grateful for the freedom that I have to live the way I live. Number two, I get to make a difference, and it's noticeable. It's not invisible. It comes back to us almost every single day, by way of people thanking us, by way of people wanting our time and so forth. He talked about, let's see, learning the laws. So can you remind me one of the laws at a time? Let's just do this real quick, one law at a time. And I just want to give you a blurb about each one. I'll unmute you here. Go ahead. Oops. I can't unmute you, Mary. You got to unmute yourself. Mary, can you unmute yourself on this one?
Sorry.
Okay. What are those laws again? Number one.
I could give you a synopsis. He gave us.
No. I want to do the synopsis because I want to interrelate it to what we've covered already.
Perpetual transmutation.
Okay, so that means energy is constantly in motion. The chair that you're sitting on, the desk that you're in front of, the computer screen you're looking at appears to be stationary, but it's not. It's a mass of molecules in motion. Energy is constantly in motion. And the transmutation, it tends from the higher state to the lower state. That's the direction of transmutation. From the higher awareness to the lower, from the higher energy state to the lower energy state. That's the manifestation of spirit into form. So that's the direction of the transmutation. Go on.
Relativity, the law of relativity.
Okay, you can't have an up without a down, a big without a small, everything is relative. You know, how free are you is a relative term. And again, that's another thing to think about when you're speaking to somebody. You know, they may have a certain degree of freedom, but what you have in mind is much bigger. And if what you have in mind is not big enough for relative to what they're living, they may not be interested in this. So it's get connected to where your spirit really soars, because that's where everybody's spirit really lives. At the end of the day, the higher you go in terms of who you are, you get to, guess what? The source. And there's only one source for every one of us. So the higher we go, the closer we get to one another.
Yeah.
Next point, next one.
The law of vibration.
Love this law. In other words, things that are in harmony with each other resonate with each other. If I strum a guitar on one side of the room and I have a guitar on the other side of the room, I'm going to start to hear the notes on that other guitar. It's that vibration, that the law of vibration. So we tend to harmonize and attract what we are in harmony with, and that's through this frequency thing called vibration. Everything that has emotion is also in motion with a frequency. So all energy is in motion and all energy is frequency. Now, like right now in this room that I'm talking to you in, every single radio station in Toronto is happening. Mm-hmm. If I have the right device to tune to the right frequency, I will hear one station versus another station. As I change the channel, I change the frequency bandwidth that I'm listening to and what I can actually hear. Well, every possibility is in some frequency range. Every version of you is in some frequency range. You just got to tune the channel to the frequency, which is what you really, really want. Tune to the station that you really, really want, and you'll be able to start hearing it as you resonate with it, as you become more and more consistent with that. And again, that's the use of will. You mentioned will and discipline. The proper use of willpower is to stay focused. And the first point that I made last week of my 3 keys is focus. The second point was decide. And that's how you started. You started with making a committed decision. Willpower is what you use in order to stay connected to that committed decision. The second thing I asked you to do to stay connected to that committed decision is to stay plugged into your upline, somebody that you allow to hold you accountable. So upline can hold faith. They can have faith that you can achieve. But another way of saying that is allow yourself to be held accountable to someone in your upline who can see for you what you can't see for yourself. And they'll keep you true to your commitment. They'll keep you true to your vision. They'll keep you true to your goal if you allow them to. Mm-hmm. Okay, what's the next one?
The law of polarity.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, so if something's really, really, really bad, coronavirus, it's really, really, really good. That's the law of polarity. So you can't have one without the other. Therefore, when you go through life thinking everything is bad, think exactly the opposite, because it's also good. The question is, what frequency are you tuned to? What channel are you listening to? And that's what's going to determine what you see and what you experience and what you're in harmony with. Again, next one.
The law of rhythm.
The law of rhythm. We talked about this too, because in our business, it's so fundamental that on some level, it breaks down to what? What am I doing every single day with consistency? If I'm not talking to new people every single day with some consistency, I'm not giving Nikken to anyone. And the business is sharing Nikken. Discover it, live it, share it. And if you're not sharing it, there's no rhythm to your business. You can't build momentum. It's like rowing your boat once and then not again for a while, and then you put the oar in the water again, and you can't build any steam that way. So rhythm is everything. Life is rhythm. There's ebbs and flows. And so you want to breathe in and breathe out, and breathe in and breathe out with some degree of rhythm. Our business, life, energy has rhythm. So give your business some rhythm. Next one.
The law of cause and effect.
Okay, that's just simply the execution. You know, when we put something in, something returns. It's like Newton's third law. For every cause, there's an effect. Therefore, for every effect, there's a cause. Now, I've spent a great deal of my time figuring that out, you know, learning how to do Nikken in a way where it's can produce some consistent results by measuring the cause and effect, And if you look at the leaders who are teaching on that and you can connect, they've got some experience with this. So if they're giving you some pointers, try this, do this, it's because they have experienced that with some degree of consistency that they see it's a reigning principle. Next one.
And the last law he talked about was the law of gender.
Oh, I love this law. This one's a terribly important law, and it's also a law that really trips us up. The law of gender, or the law of gestation, as it's otherwise known as, means for every seed that you sow, there's a time of harvest. There's a time to sow and a time to reap. Can you imagine if every seed you sowed, which is a metaphor for every thought you had, every thought you held in your consciousness, if that thought manifested into form instantly, can you imagine the chaos your life would be in? Or for that matter, the world? So there's this period of time that has to go between when we plant the seed and we realize the harvest. Now, for basic things like food and crops, we know that. It's a science. We know how long it takes to gestate corn or a child, an infant in the mother's womb, etc. We know these things because we've studied them to the degree that we see there's a consistency, that cause, the effect, and that period of germination and harvest. So the thing that we don't know is the span of time that it's going to take to germinate an idea like your goal. You set a goal in your mind and you have an idea of what you want. What you don't really know is the timeline to its manifestation, but you can accelerate it. You can shorten the time span between the point of which you create the idea and hold it in your mind or in your consciousness to when you manifest it. And Bob mentioned it once, twice, and I don't know how many times, but he kept saying it. It's one word: faith. The key to manifesting your idea faster than anything is to eliminate doubt from the experience. And the only way you can eliminate doubt is simply your mind conjecturing what might get in the way. Well, your mind, as he pointed out, is filled with paradigms. It's full of stuff that's not even yours that will get in the way. And how do you overcome that? Faith. Faith is to be able to give it up to a higher power and say, look, I know I don't know everything, but I know that that higher power, that source from which I come and every other person on the planet comes, that source knows everything. So if I don't know how to get it done, don't worry about it. That source from which I come and all the people who need to be attracted to me come knows how to get it done. So if I stick to the faith aspect, which is an attitude of gratitude. So if your attitude of gratitude, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions are faith-based, then you're eliminating doubt. And Jesus said, if it just takes this faith of a mustard seed, this tiny little seed, that if you had but the faith of a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, move, and it will move, because it is subject to the laws of nature. And the laws of nature decree that these laws that we just spoke about are the laws of God's MO. God's MO is the nature of reality. So if we obey the laws, if we are in harmony with the laws, if we apply the laws conscientiously, then we will manifest like a scientist in a laboratory creates. And it's to the degree that you actually apply this that you will start to experience consistency in your results. The reason why people are inconsistent with the results is ever so traceable. Observe your attitude. Watch the modulations in your attitude. And so, again, this is another reason why we need to have conscientious thought, because if we just allow ourselves to be emotion-driven, you could have a great day and a lousy day. And can you imagine if your business is governed by that? You're going up and down and up and down and up. There's pretty hard to be consistent that way. So the key: focus, decide, do it. The do it part that I talk about is the application of the law. And you know you're doing it right if you have absolute faith. And the only reason why you even consider having absolute faith is because you agree and accept that you come from a higher power, and that that higher power is operating in your life and in everyone's life. And that's the only way you could accept it. Otherwise, you run around in doubt, creating all kinds of chaos in your life unnecessarily, because you don't trust the most fundamental thing that at some point in your life you have to come to a conclusion about. Either there is a greater power or there isn't. If life is nothing but random chance, you're screwed. You know, I like what Dr. Gary says. By choice, not by chance. And the law that we've been talking about, the science of getting rich, is simply a choice. It's choosing to think and act in a way that's consistent. Think and act in a way that's consistent, that you are, in fact, a higher power. That you are physical in this moment, which is the lower form of your higher power, as Bob points out, but that you are a higher power living a physical experience, but you are no less a higher power. And you must therefore apply that higher power with some degree of consistency in the way you do it, because you are the creator of your reality. And when you start to come to terms with this, and I mean full on, as he says, all in, you got to be all in on this. If you really want to be a conscious creator, you got to be in on this, all in on this. Okay, Dr. Gary, you're on the line. You don't usually chime in, but I'd love to have your thoughts on this.
I want to thank you, Mike, and Mary. This is an excellent class this evening. It really is. You know, it's rather than take the time to chime in on that, it's something I've studied, something I appreciate. Every action has a reaction. Everything that you're teaching here are absolute truths. They aren't wishy-washy at all. And just employ them in your life and in your business.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. And speaking of which, myself, Dr. Gary, and a few others on this line here are part of an event that's going to take place on May 16th. If you have not yet heard, tomorrow afternoon at noon on Ben's call, noon Eastern time, he'll be getting into a little bit more details about that. But what I wanted to share with you quickly, if you haven't seen this yet, is the promo materials that we've prepared in order for you to be able to share. So if you're on either the Launch Partners WhatsApp chat, or the LP Expansion WhatsApp chat, or the Team Canada WhatsApp chat, or Dave Johnson just did an email blast you should have received, which is an invitation as well, not only to participate in this, but something you can then use to share. So this is an example of one of the images that was created for you to share to anyone you'd like to invite to this event on May 16, which is an hour-long event from 12:30 to 1:30. And it's three components to this: part 1, part 2, part 3. Part 1 will be an introduction. The better way is the presentation. So it will be an overview of the Nikan opportunity and products and lifestyle that can present for someone who's looking for a solution. Part 2 will be testimonials of people ranging from new people, like Leonardo's on that one, to people who've been in the business for some time. So you get a range of perspectives on what it means to be involved in Nikan and so forth. And then part 3 will be simply a Q&A, an opportunity for people to ask questions. They'll be able to write their questions in on the chat and then have that moderated and answered by the panel of people who are on the call presenting. So this is one of the promos. This is another. All of these promos, by the way, are available for you to immediately distribute and start using on your social media channels and to send out to your contacts. This is a great one. This is another one. In this community, we continue to generate income, be part of a global wellness community. Here's another one. There's 5 in total. Change the way you work from home, a dropship business focusing on whole wellness. All of them show that the event channel, which is the one you're on right now, theroyalalliance.com/live, again on May 16th. So these are available for you to use to promote starting right away. And don't even limit it to one. Maybe you have a campaign. You'll do one day, you'll do one in a couple of days. So use these promos to create a little bit of a momentum, that rhythm, so that you can create an awareness that there is a happening. Something's going on May 16th. That would be rather exciting and important for people looking for a solution to really, quantum leap their life. And so if you all plug in and participate, not just as a consumer of the event, but to actually bring guests to the event, we're going to look at that. We're going to monitor that. We may consider doing this more often than not. So this is a first. And yeah, Gary, go ahead.
We have the Facebook page too.
Thank you.
So,
yes,
yeah.
very much. Thank you. So how do they find the Facebook page?
Just on Facebook, Niken Zoom In.
Okay, go to Facebook, type in the Q bar, Niken Zoom In. The reason it's called Zoom In is because this actually originates from an idea that was very successful in California, where they were having fly-ins. So they would fly people down to the corporate office, and they would have a day-long session that would really compel people to see, kick the tires, and really get the experience of Niken all in one shot. And that would be a great recruiting event. So time is of the essence. We're not going to have a whole day at this. We'll just compress it down to about an hour. Also, there is a fourth part to this, by the way. There will be an email. I haven't figured out which way we're going to get it to you, but you will get it. It may be a broadcast email by Dave Johnson that you will then have. It will be an email complete with attachments and links that you can then share immediately following the event. You can just simply say, I want you to check this. Thanks for joining us. And it'll say all those things, and it'll have the links, which will include a PDF of Self-Care Awakening, thanks to Dr. Gary. It will include links, just relevant links that will give them, again, a chance to do a little bit more digging, a little bit more research into what this is all about. So, and this is, again, part and parcel to what Leo's doing. Leo, who's very effective with his email campaigns, the first thing Leo does is send out an email. So we're going to give you the email to send out. You don't even have to think about it. So this is a first. You now have 2 weeks advance notice on this, so please go to town on it. Any questions before we wrap up?
I'd just like to compliment Mary. I think we've been listening to your and feeling your vibration, which we always do, but her vibration and her love. And you mentioned a guitar and from one end to the room to the other end. Michael, if you haven't listened to the recording, she and Maggie did a drumming. They had this a drummer. It was absolutely profound. It was at the end of 4 events on that marathon day, but it was just so profound. And so a perfect having that right before going to Bob, and perfect timing for this now. I went in, when I went off the camera, I went in to get my Science of Getting Rich, and I didn't zoom in with Bob for 3 days. It was the 3% Club, which was, I'm sure, a lot more than what you paid for this probably 20 years ago. So it was interesting. So all my notes tonight, I made all the notes on all the pages of where Mary was talking. So now it'll be the daily reading and the daily whatever. So it's, again, the perfect timing on the Better Way on Thursday nights. We've always had just a few token Canadians, and now the ratio is bigger. There's more Canadians and less Americans up until now. And so so we have a little border competition here, so there's nothing wrong with that. So it's this is so exciting. And what Barb and that Pennsylvania and Virginia team has done with the virtual tours all over the place. So just putting it all together, it really has been the positive of the virus, the positive end of the virus. So much good coming out of it. So
fantastic.
Much good.
And this is, yeah, this is the law of polarity in action. Yes, Mary.
Our homework is to study chapter 8 on decision for 30 days. And I want to add to what Madeline's just saying when she says she took her Science of Getting Rich book out, and find a partner and read a paragraph each alternatively. So, and do it for 30 days.
Let me just add to why the rhythm of 30 days. You know, there is a rhythm to learning. There's a rhythm to breaking the habits. There's a rhythm to shifting your paradigm. And so this is why daily is so important. We have stuff there that it's much too difficult to try and uproot the weeds that are in our subconscious mind. It's just way too difficult to figure out all of the stuff that's there. And so what Bob teaches and what I've learned is we don't water the weeds. We water the new seeds. So plant some new seeds and water them with consistency. So when you read a chapter, you don't have to read the book, read a chapter and keep watering that. By reading that chapter over and over, it becomes something that starts to grow within your consciousness. And what grows, what you water, what you nurture grows, what you discard, what you don't water just dies. So just that simple. It could be that simple to change the paradigm. Just keep watering the seeds. Very good. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of this call. I appreciate it.
Let me plug tomorrow night's Healthy by Choice class.
Thank you, please. Yes.
Because it's a new one and actually inspired by Maggie and Mary. So it'll be Healthy Families by Choice. So tune in this same channel, 6 p.m. Pacific.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you very much for that. We've got a nice library. By the way, if you haven't seen any of Dr. Gary's videos, where can they go for a quick fix on that?
Just look for the Self-Care Awakening YouTube channel.
Self-Care Awakening YouTube channel, and the repertoire is there. Fantastic. Guys, everybody, thank you so much for joining. See you next week. Have a great week.
Great call.